Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of language learners wrestle with, listening comprehension in English.
Oh, definitely. It's a big one.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about, you know, putting on headphones and hoping for the best. We found this really specific three-phase method from a learner who had success with it.
Right. And it's designed to turn that feeling of being overwhelmed, the fast speech, the new words, into something manageable.
Exactly. Turning passive listening into, well, active learning.
And that's key, isn't it? Because so many people dive into podcasts or videos and just hit that wall. Information overload.
The brain just gives up after 5 minutes.
Yeah, it does. This method, though, it's interesting because it seems to start by deliberately lowering that stress. It gives you clear steps.
And the source material really highlighted the results. This learner saw real progress, understanding new words, even making sentences in just one 30-minute session.
Which is pretty remarkable.
And they felt happy and proud. That feeling of accomplishment is huge. So we want to unpack exactly how they did that.
It sounds like they shifted from just letting the language wash over them to really engaging with it, building a positive feedback loop right away.
Okay, let's unpack this then. If frustration is the big enemy here, how did this learner get past that first hurdle?
Well, it seems like the first move was kind of counterintuitive. They basically told themselves to stop trying so hard to understand everything immediately.
Right, avoiding that real-time translation trap.
Precisely. That's often the biggest mistake, trying to catch every single word.
So that leads us to the first part of this method.
Yeah.
Let's call it phase one, immersion and rhythm.
Okay.
The first thing they did was listen once, but crucially, without looking at the transcript.
Exactly. And they knew, going in, the speech would be fast, words would be new, but the instruction was simple. Don't worry, just listen.
That's the big mental shift, isn't it?
It really is. You're deliberately shifting your brain's focus away from what does this mean and towards how does this sound. It's about the mechanics first.
But if you don't understand and it's fast, how does just telling yourself, don't worry, actually help? Doesn't the anxiety just linger?
Well, it's a bit of a psychological trick, By consciously focusing on the sound, you're telling that frantic translation part of your brain to just quiet down for a minute.
Okay.
So the learner wasn't passive. They were actively listening for things, asking questions like, how do these words flow together? Where does the speaker pause or speed up? Where does the voice rise? Where does it fall?
So it's like listening to music in a language you don't speak. You're not getting the lyrics, but you're catching the rhythm, the melody, the emotion.
Exactly. You're analyzing the sonic structure. You connect with the flow, the feel of it, without the pressure of understanding every single note or word.
And the learner actually mentioned enjoying that, even without full comprehension.
Yeah, they said they enjoyed the sound of English. And that's vital. It builds familiarity, reduces that initial fear factor, and makes the whole process less daunting. It sets the stage.
Okay, so the ear's getting tuned, the brain's hopefully a bit calmer. What's the next step to bring in the meaning?
Right, now we move into phase two. Synthesis and active repetition. The rhythm's established. Now we layer on the meaning, but very carefully.
This is where the transcript comes in. Second listen, but this time reading along.
Makes sense, right? Suddenly it's easier, as the learner put it. You see the word, you hear the sound simultaneously, that connection clicks.
Okay, that seems straightforward. Read and listen.
But they didn't just stop there. This is where it gets really active. The key was immediate, focused repetition, not just murmuring along.
What do you mean by focused?
It wasn't just reading aloud, it was about modeling. They'd hear how a specific word or phrase was pronounced, stop the audio, and repeat it out loud.
And there was a specific example,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, a simple phrase. Learning English is fun and useful. They stopped and said it 3 times. And the goal explicitly was to make their own voice sound like the speaker's voice.
So it's not just about saying the words correctly. It's about the intonation, the rhythm, the stress patterns, everything.
Precisely. You're training your mouth, tongue, vocal cords, the whole physical apparatus to produce the sounds accurately, mimicking the quality of the voice, not just the words.
That sounds like it builds speaking confidence almost as much as listening skills.
Absolutely. If you think about the bigger picture, this kind of repetition, matching the intonation, it's forging muscle memory for speech. It connects back to phase one, locking in that rhythm you notice, but now you're producing it.
Way more effective than just reading a whole paragraph once without that focus.
Much more. Short, intense bursts of mimicry.
Okay, so we've listened for rhythm, read for meaning while listening, and repeated specific bits to nail the sound. That seems like a solid core practice, maybe 20 minutes.
Probably less, even. Then comes the final part of this initial session. Phase 3, reinforcement and application, making sure it sticks.
Right, anchoring the gains. How did they do that?
2 key things. First, vocabulary capture, but not just mentally noting words.
They wrote them down.
Physically wrote them in a notebook. The source listed examples like podcast, listen, repeat, pronunciation, understand, transcript, headphone, speaker.
That physical act of writing, does that really make a difference?
Oh, definitely. It engages kinetic memory. It's one thing to recognize a word passively, quite another to actively form the letters with your hand. It helps move it from short-term recognition to something more durable.
Okay, writing down the words. What else?
They didn't just make a list, they immediately used the words. They created their own simple sentences.
Application.
Exactly. Things like, I listen to a podcast every day, or I understand better when I read and listen together. This is the real test. Can you use the word correctly?
It shows you've actually internalized it, not just recognized it.
Precisely. And the learner explicitly said, writing sentences help them remember the words. It's immediate proof of progress.
And then, to wrap up the session.
One final listen. Back to just audio, no transcript.
Yeah.
And the payoff was clear. They confirmed they understood more than before.
Wow. So that whole cycle, rhythm, synthesis, repetition, reinforcement, created this positive loop. Fun, easy, effective, all in about 30 minutes.
It seems so. A very structured, rewarding little workout. But, the real test of any method is whether you can do it again.
And consistency. Right. So what happened the next day?
Well, the learner picked a new topic, something they were interested in travel. New cities, food, meeting people.
Keeps it engaging.
Yeah. And crucially, they didn't try to figure out a new plan. They just repeated the exact same 3-phase structure. Listen without transcript, listen with and repeat, then write.
Takes the guesswork out of it. You just follow the steps.
Removes that decision fatigue. And what's interesting is how quickly the confidence seemed to build. Repeating simple, relevant sentences like, I like to travel to new places, or I want to meet new friends. It felt like their English.
They were personalizing it.
And then they added another layer, something pretty advanced, actually.
What was that?
They started recording their own voice on their phone while doing the repetition phase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then they'd listen back to the original speaker and then listen to their own recording, comparing them side by side.
That's serious self-assessment, like really analyzing the gap.
It really is. It moves you from thinking you sound like the speaker to knowing where the differences are. You can pinpoint it. Oh, my rhythm is off here, or I didn't link those words smoothly.
That gives you such specific feedback. Way better than just guessing.
Totally. It basically turns your phone into a pronunciation coach. Immediate objective feedback. They could hear what was good and exactly what needed more work.
And realizing they had this tool, this method that worked, that must have felt empowering.
Hugely. The source mentions they felt proud sharing this good method with a friend. They summed it up nicely. Podcasts are like teachers. They teach me words, sentences, and pronunciation.
That's a great summary.
And this led to a core belief, which is really interesting.
Here's where it gets really interesting. What was the belief?
That doing this kind of focused podcast practice every day, even just for 10 or 20 minutes, was one of the best ways to improve. Not because it's magic, but because this specific method made it feel easy, interesting, and very helpful.
It wasn't about raw talent. It was about having a smart process.
Exactly. Working smarter.
Okay, so boiling this down for you, the listener. The actionable takeaway here seems to be, first, listen just for the sound, the rhythm. Take the pressure off understanding everything.
Let your ear adjust.
Then second, listen, use the transcript to connect sound to text. But immediately follow up with active, focused repetition of short phrases. Really try to mimic the speaker's voice, the intonation, the speed.
Build that muscle memory.
And finally, lock it in. Write down the key new words, and crucially, use them right away in your own simple sentences.
That whole cycle. And consistency is vital. Even 10 or 20 minutes daily following these steps seems to build skills progressively. Don't aim for perfection on listen 1. Aim for rhythm.
So what does this all mean? It means you can take control of your listening practice. Short, consistent effort with this structure can really move the needle.
Definitely.
But if you want to take it even further, think about that final provocative thought. The learner found real power in recording and comparing their voice.
Yeah, that self-assessment piece is powerful.
Consider how that technique, often used by, singers or actors, could elevate your own practice. How could recording yourself, comparing it critically, transform your pronunciation, your confidence, your overall command of spoken English?
It adds a whole new dimension to listening practice, turns it into vocal practice, too. Something to really think about.